If you do pierce the wire with a nail, you've got to stop, pull it out. So we're still working on this master suite remodel. We've got some existing plugs that have got to go, and we've got a bunch of plugs to add. I've never seen this many receptacles in one bathroom of this size, but the homeowner, he's an engineer and he wants power available everywhere. Convenience here, convenience there, appliance here, appliance there. So let's get going. Power's off. Always double check, it's been turned off at the breaker. That's where the GFCI protection is located, is at the breaker. So we're not going to be adding a GFCI to this space. All right, so this is our home run, and it's not going to be long enough to reach any of our outlets. So we're going to reroute it. That looks like it's the one. See if it'll pull through. Oh, that attic space becomes inaccessible here, so I have to be able to pull it back through so I can route it cross country and get it to reach. See, one thing about this hole, I just naturally do it, but I want to call it to your attention here is I'm actually not drilling straight through. I'm drilling up at an angle. The only reason for that is to smooth the passage of wire. I like to drill the hole in the direction that the wire is going. It doesn't take any more time, but it pulls more smoothly. And when you extrapolate that reduction in resistance across 4, 5, 8 holes on a pole, that saves you real time and makes you real money. We have enough to our advantage right here that I'm gonna go ahead and utilize, go through the studs, as opposed to back up and over and down, even though that blind corner is gonna take just a minute to get through. We'll talk about that here. I'm intentionally gonna drill up above the outlet box a little bit so I can have a service loop, secure the wire, and then go through the hole. I don't wanna put my hole really within 8 inches of the box. Give it just a little bit more working space. Now I'm using a 1 3/8 bit, much larger. I'm gonna reduce the speed because that's gonna put considerable strain on my drill. I've got the right angle drill, so I have the privilege of getting in there pretty tight in order to angle that hole. And then I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna try to find a very similar angle on this side of the stud so that I marry up that corner and those holes. While I'm thinking of it, one of the last things that I'm gonna do on this project before the completion of the rough-in is fire caulking top plates and bottom plates. Some jurisdictions have a horizontal requirement, ours does not. So this hole does not count, but the hole at the top of this wall, we're gonna seal that with fire caulk, and every similar hole, whether used or unused. Countertop vanity is gonna go right here. We will have to remove some insulation. And we're gonna have a 1/2 inch reveal is what we're targeting. The stubs on the side of this are 3/8, so it's not a perfect gauge, but it does give you a relative sense. But lowered this down. What the case is, let's talk through this real quick. The case was that the top of countertop was 36, bottom of countertop 34.5. The bottom of the basin inside the countertop 28. So the outlet where it was located would not be accessible. And so we've dropped it down below the plumbing, maintaining enough separation that the plumbing can have an escutcheon ring and the receptacle can have a plate, and they won't be in conflict with each other. So that's an in-cabinet receptacle, and I've spaced it out, not the 1/2 inch, but I've come out about 3/4 because we know we're gonna have drywall plus a mild, very small gap, 1/8 inch, plus probably 1/8 inch for the back of the cabinet. So that's gonna be about where we want it. We do not wanna have a combustible material that ends up between the receptacle and the plate. that is a fire hazard. So we're going to continue around the horn here. We've got to get from this lower receptacle to this one and then through another blind corner, but it feels like this corner might be solid and we don't have the luxury of an optimal angle, but we'll get through there nonetheless, show you another trick for that. End up here and then up and overhead to the other vanity. And we're going to anticipate that we're going to go ahead and just nail plate this because this is going to be a tight corner. So I'm going to drop it down a bit and intentionally place it such that I'm going to remove the face of the stud. So as far as I go. It's a solid corner. I'm not going to get through. I just need to get into this space right here. Same activity. That's all I need. So this is being a solid corner. I'm not too worried about the amount of material that I'm removing. If this were, and this is a 2x6 exterior, if this were different, I'd probably use a smaller bit, meet it up, but that was quick and easy, quick and easy. We've got an outlet here. We've got to consider the fact that we've got two pocket doors going in, one for the closet. So the first half of this framed opening is where the pocket door will recess. And then this framed space right here is where this pocket door will go. So we're going to use a shallow outlet box, point number 1, and at a future point number 2 inside the vanity, because the vanity will sit right here and the user will be oriented facing me. So this is going to get interesting. These shallow boxes are only going to be rated for one conductor, one set of conductors, and one device. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take our bathroom circuit that's exclusively for the bathroom receptacles in our condition. We're going to come here, up, over, and then we've got a partially conditioned attic space. We're going to go up, set a J-box in the attic, and then we'll have 3 wires, one going in and 3 wires coming out. Receptacle number 1, number 2, and number 3. There's a general purpose receptacle underneath the switches by the door. We're gonna label that circuit in the attic bathroom receptacles with the circuit number. We don't want anybody to use it for anything else. It's dedicated for that purpose. And then you might be wondering, what's this above my head? It's a hot. We've got a hot feed over there that we're about to wrap through the ceiling, and we're going to put it in a separate junction box up in the attic space with this. Why the attic space? Why not put it here? Well, junctions, 1, must be contained in a box. They cannot just be wire to wire in open air. 2, they have to be permanently accessible. We don't want a wall plate on our master bathroom ceiling just hanging out there for no reason. So we're going to put all the junctions in the attic so that this is a good, clean, sharp finish, and the junctions remain permanently accessible in an enclosed box. I usually work in a logical order, so I will fit and finish, terminate the first junction, second junction, third junction, following in my head the path of electricity, checking everything as I go. It's too easy in a rush in a complicated project with starts and stops to have a circuit that's run over here, forget a jumper, have a disembodied circuit that's run over there, and realize there's no bridge between the two. Power's not getting from side A to side B. And so just that logical workflow where you've got a system that you stick to project by project, it's going to help you out. One bay too far. All right, so our attic space, the point at which I'm trying to junction because of some obstructions is going to be right up here, about 1.5 feet through the floor. I'm going to push up about 3 feet of wire, so I've got some latitude on where to put that junction box. So we go to the wall, plus 3 feet, it's a little bit much. All right. That's what I'm looking for right there. So that's where that stops. Outlet number 2. Usually, you see, I pick a spot that's halfway. If you need to be methodical, by all means, start at the start and work your way through. But in this case, I actually usually like to start at a halfway point so that I'm only pulling the wire through half the set of holes, as opposed to, in this case, through 2 holes and then through a 3rd hole that's at a perpendicular to the original holes. That pulling through a set of perpendicular holes is just slower and more cumbersome. So I'm intentionally starting right here. See where that puts us. Pretty close. All right, now I cannot get a hammer and staples back here to properly secure the wire. What this means is the wire is going to be fished in voids. I can see the void, but I can't access the void. So from my perspective, by code definition, that's a void, and I'm permitted to fish without staples the wire. Now, practically speaking, I do want it to stay under control. I've got a drywall cut out on the backside, so I can get 1 staple right there. Otherwise, backside's closed up. So, but I do want it to stay in the wall and protected. If it comes and flops just because of the natural twist of the cable onto the face of the framing, it's going to get pinched by drywall if the drywallers are not being prudent and judicious. And I tell you what, they may not be. I'm not going to put my stakes in their hand. So that's about what I'm looking for right there. Yeah, that's the ticket, is turn the wire, shape it as you need it. So that looks good. See, everything's contained. In fact, the wire is almost completely out of sight. And I'm gonna go ahead and put a staple up here while I'm thinking of it, out of sight, out of mind. I don't like carrying around my hammer. I've got a hammer hook right here, but it just bangs against my legs. And most of my stapling will all be done at once at the time of termination. So I just drop this 16 ounces off, reduce my weight, stop it from banging around, leave it to the carpenters. You know me. Psh. We're going to label everything. Got the receptacle symbol, a circle with 2 diagonal lines through it, a couple different places. This is going to get paint, drywall mud on it. It will not be perfect, in perfect condition when I come back to it. So because it's got no chance of becoming energized, I'm not worried about capping it. I'm just going to coil it and stick it right there. And this is critical. Anytime you're working behind walls that are going to be covered up, I don't believe it's standard industry practice, but it is Jefferson Electric practice that we take rough-in photos and we upload them to our unlimited Slack account, unlimited storage. All the photos live there under the customer name. They are completely searchable from this point forward. And any of our team members that comes out to finish this project out is going to have a suite of photos that's going to show them where every wire lives, and that's completely free. It'll literally take 3 minutes of my time. All right. 2 more receptacles in here. This wall, that wall, and then we're going to start our terminations. Now, framers aren't done installing this pocket door here, but I've been instructed to go ahead and install the box and wiring. So this is the scoop. This is how negotiations work on a job site. See, selling is getting your price on your terms. Negotiating is modifying price or terms. In this case, I'm going to end up negotiating this because I've sold it, and then something might happen to it where the framers just pop it loose and it's hanging there in midair, and I've got a mobilization to come back out here that's going to be at the homeowner's expense, at the general contractor's expense, because I've completed my scope of work, and now this is an additional scope of work. So we're going to have a additive change order, and they're going to want to negotiate with me. They're going to be like, look, we were, $3,500 project, No. I did exactly what you told me to do. And I warned you right up front. I'm the professional. It's incumbent upon me to offer professional advice. You wouldn't want to go to a doctor and have him tell you, like, well, you didn't tell me this or that. Like, you should have asked. You should have been the doctor. You should have asked 21 questions. You should have fleshed out the situation. You should have given me complete professional advice. I've provided complete professional advice. If something's not right when I come back, it is now billable. But guess what? It's incumbent upon me as the professional to offer that advice. If I don't caution them, if I don't warn them, I might need to come back on my dime. I've been through this. This is the homeowner's first time on a bathroom remodel of this size. This is my day-to-day. I need to caution them, warn them, advise them. I need to be in their court, and if I am, they'll call me back, even if they have to pay me more to come back, because they'll recognize the dignity, respect, and honesty. There it is, guys. I'm done preaching. All right. Quick conference with the homeowner, regroup on what's happening here. This box is only screwed there for representative purposes. We're gonna have a king stud and a jack stud and a header that goes all the way across here. So I'm gonna bring the wire down in the corner, I'm gonna pop it out, and I'm gonna leave it coiled. That's an easy job for someone to tuck it into that box, snap a picture, send it to me and say, boom, done. Because this work is gonna be done on my permit, my license, my liability. So I need to have the confidence that anything that takes place here that's not my hands is on point, all right? Some of you are gonna wanna come out and do it yourself. A project, a task this small with photo evidence, that's good for me. I'm gonna drop that into the file, no problem. We're adding the receptacles in the bathroom. This is our last destination to bring wire to before we start terminating and stapling. Finalizing our labels, our junction in the attic. So this is gonna come back to that attic junction. It's as close as anything else. I've got a single gang remodel box. I've traced the outline of the box. It's time to probe the wall and just make sure we're in the clear here. I'm not too worried because there's lots of drywall work being done in here. All right, I got the wire up the wall, pull it across the ceiling, leave enough for the junction box in the attic, and at this point, all my receptacles are gonna be fed, and I'm ready to terminate. You see now, I labeled everything. If you watched a couple of the previous videos where these LED wafer lights are being installed, I've got wires passing through nearby, and I wanna know what everything is with total clarity. Make sure those flaps open up on the remodel box. Whoop, 90 degrees, you can feel it. If you have any kind of, what am I trying to say, return to the left, then those flaps could close up on you, snag the edge of the drywall, and you won't get any grab. Make sure it's right, exclusively right. You'll feel it tighten up and pull into the work. You'll see it snug up at the tabs here. Give it a test. Ah, beautiful, beautiful. You want to have at least 6 inches available. I've got usually 9 or 10 there. That's plenty, especially when there's only one wire in that box. Leave yourself some extra. There's plenty of working room, even with a device. All right, knock the knockouts out here. These are knockouts all the way out. Just get them out of your way. They are not clamps. Staples required within 8 inches of the wire length to the box. Got a little bit. Well, I can deal with that. That's not terrible. Horizontal board holes within 4.5 feet, but this one's so sloppy, I went ahead and added a staple there so the wire doesn't flop out of the wall. I'm gonna add staples on up here within every 4.5 feet. One of the things I'm doing here with 2 wires is I'm being intentional to get the wire back from the face of the box, because Drywall is going to go up. They'll probably use a rotozip to zip that out. That rotozip will enter the box and route just inside of there, and I don't want it to damage my wire. So I'm following, at this point, the logical flow of power through the room. The only thing I've saved is my junction in the attic. I can't miss that because right now the wires are just hanging down over there in everyone's way. So the logical flow of energy around the room. If you do pierce the wire with a nail, you've got to stop, pull it out, no taking chances, replace it. And I'm leaving that service loop in there on purpose. That's going to give me an extra 2 to 3 inches inside the box in case something goes wrong. And what could go wrong? Well, on the finish out, say I'm installing a device, it gets nicked, or say the rotozip nicks something, I know I've got just a little bit extra standing by. I don't have 9 inches, but I've got a little extra. All right, overview of what we just did. We brought the home run and rerouted it. We've added 7 outlets. The price floor for this project with open studs is $350. It goes all the way up to maybe $600-700 depending on complexities, coordinations, level of preparedness. And then if the walls are up, that can easily triple in cost. The time it takes to fish and carve and cut, triple, no joke, in cost. The last thing we're gonna do after adding these 7 outlets is jump in the attic, make up our J-box. We want that to be rock solid. The next guy is not gonna know that that's up there. It could be that something fails, all of the 3 outlets that are tied in there fail. And if that's not rock solid, it's gonna be hard to find. Homeowners transition homes on average every 5 to 7 years. That's average. This information is gonna be lost quickly, even if the present homeowner knows it. We're gonna have to bulletproof this to avoid headaches down the road because often enough, you are the next guy. So at this point, I'm gonna take a couple of junction boxes up to the attic. I'm gonna junction, let's get this right, these in one junction box that's not gonna have a receptacle. And then I'm gonna take these 2 that service the closet receptacle behind me, a separate circuit, and I'm gonna put them in a receptacle box in the attic. We're gonna take it all through, neat and tidy, nicely labeled, and then this circuit will be ready to go live on the finish out once the receptacles and plates are installed. Now we're in the attic. We're gonna mount, after drilling through the bottom plate of this wall, we're gonna mount our junction boxes, terminate a receptacle for convenience. In fact, code is that every accessible attic space with serviceable equipment must be equipped with power and light. In this case, there's no serviceable equipment, but we are gonna add a receptacle anyways because it's gonna be very convenient. So what we've got, 4 conductors, 4 sets of conductors for the bathroom receptacles. We're gonna blank that off with a blank plate. 2 that are passing through that'll house our receptacle. Let's make it up. It's real easy at this point. There's a lot of wire, but it's all color to color. What that means is in this junction box, all the grounds are together and to the box. All the whites are together, those are neutrals. All the hots are together. We tuck it, blanket, done. This box, same thing, color to color. Blacks are together on the brass screws. Whites are together on the silver screws. Grounds to the receptacle and each other. This J-box gets busy. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna grab my grounds and colors and I'm gonna lay out all the wires to avoid congestion so we don't have this crisscross overlap mumbo jumbo. See how that's gonna be all neat and tidy? I'm gonna take my longest ground and I'm gonna make it the conductor that grounds to the box. So one green screw that's designed for this purpose to this box, 832 green ground screw, and it's going to ground my box. And I'm gonna be all squared away. So I'm gonna take all of my whites, my neutrals, cut them to the same length. Boo! Strip them back with a 12 gauge solid strip hole. I'm gonna wind them up with a pre-twist. All about the pre-twist. You know me, guys. First pre-twist is real minimal because it's gonna get thick. It's gonna get bulky. Hey, so thanks for joining us on previous videos and this video for the total rewiring of this space. We've got all the receptacles relocated, lighting upgraded, substantially massive fan evacuating air to the exterior in proper fashion. All in budget on that, $1,500 for lighting, $600. This is all give or take for receptacles. We've got some drywall to work around, so there's some additional costs every time you've got that labor involved. You've got $400 for a permit. You've got $300 for demolishing all the wiring and getting it cleaned up and back to usable wiring, identifying circuits. This is rough in and finish out total project cost. You've got decorative fixtures, you've got the recessed wafer lights, all in. If you itemize some things like taxes, disposal, insurance, you're probably a good working budget number of $3,500 to $4,500 for the total electrical package for this space. All in, hired out, this is probably a $30,000 to $40,000 bathroom, so you're probably about 10%. It's probably a good working budget number. Let me say this. There are a lot of little points that overlap and people try to push and point fingers and decide whose responsibility it is. Like fire caulking. If we don't fire caulk the penetrations through top plates and bottom plates, it's going to reflect on our permit and we're going to have a notice of violation. But general contractors will often want to execute that portion of work, or maybe homeowners, in order to reduce their cost. It is a low scale dynamic, and so we'll allow them to do that, but we'll have a proviso in the estimate that says if you fail, and we get dinged with a violation, you assume the violation fees if there are any. The inspectors in our area tend to be they play ball. They'll give you notice, and only if you try to hardball them or really be deceitful will they ding you with an actual $215 violation fee. Otherwise, it's just a notice, it's a return trip, it's communication with the person who was responsible for the fire caulking, and smooth sailing moving forward. All in, time involved in this project for a professional is going to be between 10 and 14 hours of actual work execution. You're going to have another 2 to 3 hours of project coordinations, the original estimate, time on the phone with the customer, answering questions, material acquisition. That could be even 4 hours. So all in, you're probably 18 hours, 2.25 days, $3,500. That's a good, reasonable working budget. If you're a DIYer, I'm guessing you're closer to 3 days all in by the time you've made your decisions, purchased your materials, researched your codes. That's pretty good 24 hours worth of work right there. Join us at Electric Pro Academy to learn real skills to make real money, and click here for our next video.